1,000 million moments of fulfillment is what makes me a humble billionaire. 1,000 million life lessons that were learned and applied is how I reached fulfillment. Allow me to share some of those life lesson stories with you. Welcome to Storytime, Episode 5 Preview from the No Advice Needed podcast. Do you know how long it took for me to find and marry the love of my life? No? 14 years. 14 years. 22 monogamous relationships since 5th grade, 1993 to 2007. A 14-year span. I don't know what it is about love. I just always loved it. Since being a little kid, I love being able to find someone that you think is attractive. Find out what you like about them. See if you have anything in common. And then from there, from your commonalities, build out a vibe with each other. Build something, grow something together. I've always loved it. I'm pretty sure that it came from TV and movies, whether it was Saved by the Bell or Family Matters, whether it was like the different movies that came out, all the 90s rom-com movies. I was just all in. I love socializing more so than anything. I think the only two things that I loved in school was English and then socializing. That was it. Couldn't wait to go to recess. Couldn't wait to play basketball or just run around, just enjoying it all. I love the walks home. I love the walk home. I loved the riding on the bus. I loved all of it. But out of it all, I thought that if you found someone that you could really identify with and somebody that liked you as well, then it was just all worth it. From the hugs to the kisses to the holding hands, the walking. It's always been something special. That's what I really loved about it. And so out of those 22 relationships, half of that time half of those relationships, I started early, just committed to relationships. Half of those relationships was in elementary, junior high, and high school. The other half was when I was an adult. And of course, the adult relationship from a childhood or adolescent year relationships, those are very different. But the goal is still the same, to build out the vibe and enjoy each other's company from there. But at the same time, that was one of the loves that I enjoyed. Another love came about with, do you know how long it took for me to accomplish my dream of being a signed rap artist? No? Well, it took roughly 15 years, from 1993 to 2008. From the very first time that I saw House Party or listened to Tupac's album or listened to all the different R&B albums that had hip hop and R&B tied to it, whether it was TLC, whether it was Lauryn Hill and the Fugees, I fell in love with rap and hip hop. And that's what I wanted to do. This is where the English portion came into play. I loved writing. I loved writing out bars and writing out songs. I loved it all. I loved the journey of it, of how you can piece things together just from hearing a beat. And then that beat can turn into a line, into a chorus. And then if you're competitive enough, you can make great songs. So when I was 18, I had already been writing lyrics and I wanted to pursue music, but I didn't have any money. I didn't have any resources. And so I went into the military. I went into the military for the purpose of developing myself as a grown man, gathering funds and resources. And once I got out, I was going to pursue music wholeheartedly. But I had already been in love with it. One incident of me being so in love with music, we were battle rapping at this school that I went to. And this was maybe a few years before 8 Mile came out or whatever, but we were battle rapping and we were actually reading off of a notebook the rhyme that we wrote in the previous class or the previous period before. And at lunch, we would, get a little instrumental beat and then we would start rapping. So this one guy I was battling, competitive guy, smart guy, all those things. He actually said one line like that. Everybody was like, "Oh, ooh," And I still remember what he said. He said, "You came from Natomas virtually unnoticed." And everybody was like, "Oh, that's crazy. He just cooked you." And I was so mad. I was crushed. I was super mad. And at the same time, I was having girl problems at the same time. And so I went up to shake dude's hand and I punched him. Sucker punched him. Like, he didn't expect it. Got in a fight over it. We both got suspended. And but the integrity of me as a lyricist was on the line. Now, never mind the fact that we're so young and we're saying it's a freestyle, but it's written, and then we're reading the written off of the notebook while battling each other. And then I'm willing to get in a fight for it and get expelled over it. So, bro, I'm sorry. You know, we're grown now. We've moved on. I know, you know, I know we're good, but that's what happened. That's how much I loved music. But at the same time, I loved love in the same way. I got in fights over that, got suspended over that. In fact, I don't really know how I didn't get expelled, except that I'm good with words. I'm good with contrition. Sincere contrition, but still. But even with that, fighting for love and fighting for music. So as I got older and I got out the military, I pursued music while still dating other people. I was pursuing love. I was actually in a love triangle. So I fell in love with rap and hip hop long before I fell in love with my wife, Tasha. I fought for both of them before finally choosing one. Would you choose true love, or would you choose your true dream? When I got older and I was in my relationship with Tasha, with my future wife, we weren't married yet, but I was pursuing my music career. And I finally got signed. I got signed to an independent label with major distribution, and I was excited about the whole thing. I was piecing together an album, piecing together a mixtape, and the mixtape was called "Meanwhile, Cali is Dead," and it just had it was kind of follow up to what Nas had put out when he said like hip hop was dead, and it was this whole album. I felt that way about California music. I felt like it was only E40 and Snoop, and then all the remnants and past stuff of Tupac, and nothing was really there. And so I said, "Meanwhile, Cali is Dead," and I wrote this whole album about that type of thing. And I had a whole album cover, and the album cover was tied to the hospital where Tupac passed away, the hospital in Vegas. It's kind of morbid, kind of explicit. And if I had to categorize myself as what type of rapper I was, I would say it was a combination of a conscious rapper, yet a lot of aggression. So it was something of if you combine like Kanye and 50 Cent together. I called it hood prep music. It was Ghetto Plus Academics 4.0, GPA 4.0. It was this whole nerdy type thing, but still very competitive and filled with aggression. That's just how I am. All of that was going. Super excited about that. And there was a mixtape tour that came up that we set up through the label. It was something they had did previous years back, maybe 5 years back, but we didn't realize that the industry was changing, that CDs was changing, and we didn't know the internet didn't have MP3 streaming, selling music on streams as of yet, but it was like 2 years away from it. And so the whole thing was, it was a waste of time, but I was pursuing what I wanted to pursue because I loved music. At the same time, I loved Tasha. She agreed. We were living together, and she agreed, and we both agreed that I would go on this mixtape tour and push and go after it. So I went on this tour. I was in charge of it. Rented a van, had a crew of people. It was a crew of maybe 4 other young 20-year-olds. Do you think anything's gonna go wrong with a crew of 5 mid 20 to young 20-year-olds headed out of town to do rap, to do music? Yeah, well, a lot of things went wrong. When we got there, my mixtape still wasn't done, but I was selling some of the other catalogs, some of the other artists on the label. I was selling their CDs. We were selling their CDs. But this wasn't 2004 or this wasn't 1999 anymore. So just selling things out of your trunk, that time had passed. People had moved on. But we were making some money here and there. And so we'd sell things at night and to perform we'd sell things during the day and perform during the night. And I'd perform stuff off my mixtape, and it was well received and feeling really good about it all. But at night, the other artists that I was with, they weren't about the music as much as they were about the life. And of course, there were girls, there was people going to jail, there was people drinking, there was people doing drugs, there was this whole thing. And all I was doing was doing my music and then going to the hotel and talking to Tosh. I loved music. I loved love. It was the dream and true love, the true dream and true love. So for me, I had a decision to make when it all fell apart. Ran out of money. I decided to use me and Tasha's money to fund it for a few more days, just waiting for my mixtape to come so we can sell it and then we can win. Sounded like a great plan. It was a terrible plan. I lost everything. Her money, my money. Only had enough money for gas and food to get back home, to drive from Arizona all the way back to Sacramento to Northern California. Needless to say, I chose one thing over the other, and I almost lost both of them. So what I learned in that time frame is I got closure to one dream, and I stayed committed to the other. I didn't realize at the time that choosing true love or choosing your true dream, they're both, for me, both of them was actually the dream. And my dream came true. Based on this story, guess which aspect of life the next episode is about? Mental, physical, social, aspirational. Sincerely, John Joshua. 2 first names, no middle.